Picture a summer evening in 1994. The screen door slaps shut behind you. The sun is sinking somewhere past the cul-de-sac. The streetlights have not flickered on yet, and the whole neighborhood is out. Bikes drop sideways on front lawns. A basketball thudding against a garage door 3 houses down. Somebody's mom calling a name into the dusk, and that name carrying for blocks because the world was quieter then. You did not have a phone in your pocket. Nobody could reach you, and nobody needed to. You were exactly where you were supposed to be, and you would not be home until the streetlights came on. That was the rule. That was freedom. This was America in the 1990s, when life moved slower, when waiting was part of everything, and when being out of reach was not a problem to solve. It was just childhood. If you grew up in the 1990s, get ready. These memories are going to hit you somewhere deep, somewhere you forgot was even there. Saturday mornings belonged to you and you alone. There was no streaming, no on-demand, no scrolling endlessly through 1,000 choices. There was a window. From around 7 in the morning until noon, the cartoons came on, and if you missed them, you missed them. So you were up at dawn, hair sticking up, still in your pajamas, dragging a blanket down the hallway. You poured yourself a bowl of cereal so sugary it turned the milk a different color, and you sat cross-legged on the carpet 3 feet from the television. Too close, your mom always said. You'll ruin your eyes. You never moved. The commercials were almost as good as the shows. The toys you would circle in your mind, the cereal mascots, the breakfast you begged for at the grocery store. And when noon arrived and the cartoons gave way to boring adult programming, that was it. The magic window closed for another week. You learned to live inside that anticipation, to wait 6 days for 5 hours of joy, and somehow that made it matter more. The television itself was a piece of furniture, a massive box that weighed as much as a person, sitting inside a wooden cabinet with the VCR underneath. You changed the channel by getting up, unless you were lucky enough to have the remote, and the remote was always lost in the couch cushions. There were maybe a few dozen channels, and half of them were static. You knew the schedule by heart because you had to. Nickelodeon in the afternoon, the green slime. The game shows where kids got covered in goo. TGIF on Friday nights, the whole family on the couch, watching the same shows the whole country was watching at the exact same moment. There was no pausing it. If the phone rang during the good part, somebody yelled and somebody ran. You watched it live or you didn't watch it at all, and because of that, everyone you knew had seen the same thing. Monday morning at school, you all talked about it together. It was a shared experience, the whole nation laughing at the same joke on the same night. That doesn't happen anymore. The telephone was attached to the wall. A long, curly cord stretched just far enough for you to drag it around the corner into the hallway for some privacy. If you wanted to call your friend, you had to know their number by heart. And you did. You knew dozens of them. And when you called, their mom or dad answered first, and you had to be polite. You had to ask if so-and-so was home. There was no texting, no way to send a quick message. If somebody wasn't home, you left a message on the answering machine, that little tape recorder that beeped, and you'd come home to see the red light blinking and feel a jolt of excitement. Who called? You'd press the button and listen. Sometimes you'd record a clever outgoing message with your friends, laughing, doing it over and over until it was perfect. And the busy signal, that awful, wonderful sound that meant someone was already on the phone and you just have to wait and try again later. Patience wasn't a virtue back then. It was just how things worked. If you wanted to hear your favorite song, you waited for it on the radio. You sat there with your finger hovering over the record button on your boombox, waiting for the DJ to stop talking, praying he'd shut up before the song started so you wouldn't catch his voice on the tape. Making a mixtape was an act of love. Hours of your life, sitting by the radio, catching songs one at a time, arranging them in the perfect order. You'd give that tape to someone you liked and it meant everything because they knew exactly how long it took. Then came the CD and the Discman, and that maddening skip every time you walked too fast or hit a bump on your bike. You held it flat in your palm like it was precious, walking smooth and careful so the song wouldn't jump. And the music itself, the grunge, the flannel shirts, the boy bands your sister loved, the hip-hop coming up loud and new. You taped the songs off the radio and you wore the tape thin from playing it. The mall was the center of the universe. Not just a place to buy things, a place to be. You get dropped off on a Saturday with a few crumpled dollars and the whole afternoon ahead of you. You walk in circles with your friends, no real plan, just being seen and seeing everyone else. The food court smelled like cinnamon and fried everything. There was the music store where you'd flip through the racks of CDs, the bookstore, the arcade glowing in the corner with its noise and its lights, eating your quarters one game at a time. You took photos in the photo booth, 4 shots for a couple bucks, squeezing in too close, making faces, and nobody was looking at a screen. Everybody was looking at each other. You'd spend hours there and buy almost nothing, and it was one of the best afternoons of the week. Renting a movie was an event. You'd pile into the car on a Friday night and drive to the video store, the one with the blue and yellow sign, the aisles of plastic cases under fluorescent lights. The whole family would argue over what to rent. You'd walk every aisle, picking up cases, reading the backs, putting them down, and the heartbreak when the one you wanted was already gone, just the empty case sitting on the shelf. Someone else got there first. You'd settle on something, grab a candy and a bag of popcorn by the register, and the clerk would remind you, be kind, rewind, because if you didn't rewind the tape, there was a fee, and bringing it back late cost extra too. You'd get home, push the heavy tape into the VCR, and the picture would crackle and roll before it settled. Sometimes it was tracking lines you'd have to fix, but it was Friday night, the family was together, the lights were off, and that was the whole plan. No second screen, no phone buzzing, just the movie. Going on the internet, if you even had it, meant kicking everybody off the phone first. You'd sit down at the family computer, this beige box humming in the corner, and you'd connect. The sound. Anyone who lived through it can still hear it. The screeches, the static, the strange digital song of the modem reaching out into the world. It took a minute, sometimes longer. And if someone picked up the phone in the kitchen, you got knocked offline and had to start all over. You'd hear that voice from a chat program telling you that you've got mail, and it felt like a miracle. Websites loaded one slow line at a time. A single picture might take a full minute to appear, revealing itself in strips from top to bottom while you waited and hoped. The internet wasn't everywhere. It wasn't in your pocket. It lived in one room of the house and you visited it. You didn't live inside it. School supplies were a whole personality. The trapper keeper with the wild designs, the Velcro snap that everybody opened too loud during class, scented markers, mechanical pencils you bought at the start of the year and lost by October, folders with neon patterns and cartoon characters. You decorated your locker, passed notes folded into tight little triangles, notes that took real effort, real handwriting that you'd hide in your sleeve when the teacher walked by. There were no phones to hide. The notes were the texting and the collections. Everybody collected something. The little stuffed animals with the heart-shaped tags that everyone swore would be worth a fortune someday. The slammers and the cardboard discs you'd stack and smack on the playground. The little digital pets that beeped and demanded to be fed, that you snuck looks at under your desk, that died if you forgot them over the weekend. These weren't just toys, they were currency. They were the whole social world of being a kid, traded and won and lost on the blacktop at recess. Summer stretched out forever. 3 months that felt like 3 years. You woke up with no plan and the entire day in front of you. You rode your bike everywhere, no helmet half the time, your parents having no idea where you were and not worrying about it. You drank from the garden hose when you got thirsty, the water warm and rubbery tasting from sitting in the sun. You ran through the sprinkler. You chased the ice cream truck down the street, that tinny music drifting through the neighborhood, sprinting inside to beg for change before it turned the corner. You stayed out catching fireflies in a jar after dark, the air thick and warm, the cicadas roaring. You built forts. You got bored, truly bored, and out of that boredom you invented entire worlds. There were no devices to fill the empty hours, so you filled them yourself with imagination and dirt and scraped knees, and those were the richest hours you would ever have. Taking a photo meant committing to it. You had a roll of film with maybe 24 shots on it, and that was all you got. You could not see the picture after you took it. You could not delete it and try again. You just had to trust that you had captured the moment, and then you would wait. You would finish the roll over weeks, sometimes months, mixing a birthday party with a vacation with a random Tuesday. Then you would drop it off to be developed and wait some more. And finally, you would open that paper envelope and flip through the prints, and half of them were blurry or had somebody's thumb over the lens or were too dark to see. But the good ones, the ones that worked, those were treasures. You put them in albums. You stuck them on the fridge. There were no thousands of forgotten photos buried in a phone. There were a few hundred that you actually held in your hands. Money was simpler somehow. You got a little allowance, or you mowed a lawn, or you collected cans, and you saved up for the one thing you wanted: the game system, the bike, the pair of shoes everybody had. And because you saved for it, because it took so long, you took care of it. You appreciated it. There was no instant anything. You wanted something, you waited and worked and waited some more, and when you finally got it, it meant the world. Kids today get everything fast, and they forget it fast too. Back then, you remembered every single thing you ever earned. The whole country felt closer somehow. There were fewer ways to talk to people, but the talking mattered more. You wrote actual letters to your cousin across the country and waited for the reply. You made plans days in advance, and you kept them because there was no texting to say you were running late or to cancel at the last second. If you said you'd meet your friend at the corner at 4 o'clock, you were at the corner at 4 o'clock, and so were they. Your word meant something. You knew your neighbors. You played in their yards. The mom 3 doors down would feed you lunch and not think twice about it. Doors stayed unlocked. Kids roamed in packs from house to house. There was a trust in the air, a looseness, a sense that the world was basically safe and you were free to wander through it. And then the evening would come. The street lights would flicker on, one by one down the block, and you'd hear the calls going up from porches all over the neighborhood, kids being summoned home for dinner. You'd ride your bike back in the blue dark, tired and sunburned and happy, the day used up completely. Dinner at the table, the whole family together, the television off, everyone talking over each other about their day. No phones at the table, nobody anywhere else. Just present, all of you, in the same room at the same time, which was the only place anybody ever was. Ask anyone who grew up in the 1990s and they'll tell you the same thing. We had less, fewer channels, slower computers, no phones, no way to reach anybody the second we wanted to. We waited for everything. We waited for our songs, our shows, our photos, our friends to call back. But somehow all that waiting made everything mean more. There was anticipation. There was presence. There was a whole country watching the same thing on the same night, a whole neighborhood out under the same darkening sky. We weren't connected to everyone all the time, and that's exactly why we were so connected to the people right in front of us. And maybe that's why these memories ache the way they do. Not because the 1990s were perfect, they weren't, but because life back then had edges, it had limits, and those limits made things precious. The 5-hour window of Saturday cartoons, the one roll of film, the song you waited all week to hear, the friend you couldn't reach until they got home. We didn't have the whole world in our pockets, but we had the world right around us, and we were actually in it. We were bored and free and present in a way that's almost impossible now. We looked up. We looked at each other. We were unreachable, and we were never more found. If you grew up in the 1990s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The sound of the modem connecting, the street lights coming on, the blue and yellow video store, the mixtape made by hand, the phone cord stretched around the corner, the whole family on the couch on a Friday night. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and we will never feel that way again. If this brought the memories flooding back, share it with someone who lived it too. Hit subscribe to keep these stories alive, and drop a comment below telling us your favorite memory from growing up in the 90s. I love reading every single one of them. Until next time, hold those memories close. They're worth more than anything money can buy.